everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. I'm Katie Bugbee, Senior Managing Editor here at Care.com and a mom of 3. So clearly, as we're winding down the summer and we're talking about back to school, it's something my family is going through right now as we're ramping up for a September start date. And I know, and we all know, that it's something a lot of our members and families and clients have a lot of questions about as you get ready to go back to school yourselves. So here, just a little bit, you know what, I'm just having trouble moving my, there we go. That's a little bit about me. My background is editorial, and here at Care.com, I am the Senior Managing Editor and Global Parenting Expert. Okay. So back to school is a major transition, especially for working parents with young kids. You have the backpacks, lunches, parent-teacher conferences, after-school sitters, and on top of that, you have work and your work stress. So over the course of the next hour, we're going to cover all the topics that we know you're thinking about. You've sent us questions in advance, and we're going to answer these questions that you can type in and that you've submitted. So please, if you do have questions throughout the webinar, use that chat function to ask them, and we will either answer them as we go or get to them at the end of the session. Okay. So here is the mental prep. And we know a lot of kids have anxiety, starting the school year. So we need to get our kids mentally prepared for what's to come. And basically you need to do this based on your kid's style, knowing what he or she might have felt, previous years or entering camps. If your kid's a little nervous about going to a new school and has been talking about it, you might want to arrange a tour of the building or go to the premises and walk around. Play on the playground, make sure that the walk to school is comfortable. A lot of school districts will offer tours. I don't know how to do that. A lot of school districts will offer tours and their orientations for new students. So just be on the lookout. Hopefully you can be in touch with your school district, and see what you can do as you're winding up to the first day of school. You also might not even want to talk about it at all. I know a lot of kids that when you talk about it more, they get more stressed out. School's going to be great. We're going to talk about it as it comes. We're going to address it as it comes. But focusing on a lot of the social things and the things that make your child happy, the friends, maybe some new stuff, a new cool backpack, new cool shoes, activities that they're going to be starting. Focusing on those things can make them pretty, calm and getting in sense of that routine. And actually one thing that we did last year as my one child was heading to kindergarten was that someone threw an ice cream social at their house. And we went, and the kids got to meet each other, some for the first time, and it was just like, these are kids you're going to be going to kindergarten with. So that could be fun, even if your children have already started school, to just host something on a weekend and kind of getting to know people, getting to know the parents, feeling part of this community. Another part of the mental prep is to talk about some of the expectations and goals that you might want to help your children set, things about kindness, behaviors that are appropriate or expected during the school year. Maybe talk to them about some issues that came up last year, and start talking about those responsibilities that you're going to be putting on the kids for this year. If they're going to be riding a bus, they're going to want some good behavior on the bus. Remember that time that the bus driver had to pull over and stop you from throwing your backpack in the air? Like, we're not going to do that this year, right? Those kinds of things that you're setting up front, and to go over as some expectations that we learned from before. And I think a lot of people also want to, get kind of thinking about these routines, right? The biggest issue about going back to school is that your routine turns from lazy days of summer to a more rigid, must get out the door at a certain time and get on that bus or meet the bell. So it's a shift in mentality. And, for example, my son over this summer wakes up every morning, same time, 6:40, no matter what, wakes up every morning, now runs into our room, gets into our bed in his pajamas, and takes my husband's phone because he knows the password, and turns on ESPN and watches the highlights. Now, he's 7, so he watches the highlights of everything that happened after 6:30, which was his bedtime the night before. And he stays there for 20 minutes, and then at 7 a.m., we have to, it takes a full army and a lot of threats to get him out of our bed and getting dressed for camp. And that's not going to cut it when we head into September. So the whole point of this is that you don't want to start it on the day of school. So it's important to really kind of either, if you're already started school, use some of the weekends to try to get their body clocks back up to, the school schedule, using the week before school starts to get in that mode. I think that it just slowly starts their body clock, even if they don't have anything to do. Like, say you have older kids who just want to sleep, but they now have to start waking up at 7 or 6:30. Start doing something at 6:30, like go for a walk, maybe do something around the house or go and run an errand, just so that they're up, they're moving around, they're getting their body adjusted to this time. So we also have gotten a lot of questions about after-school activities, and I think the thing that works well is focusing on one activity per kid, especially in the fall. Every school year is so different, and you just don't know how it's going to weigh on your child, especially a new teacher. Maybe it's a longer day, maybe it's harder, and they're just not grasping it the way that they grasped last year. So I think, as much as my kids love so many activities, that they really just choose one, especially in the fall, and then you just see how they adjust. And it's talking about those activities, right? So one activity per child. It can also save you some money, and then you can kind of figure out how the after-school routine goes, getting each child to their activity and juggling all of that, which we will talk about. So let's see, we are talking about, the other thing I wanted to mention here on this slide is that we have a great routine checklist to ease your morning madness. So this is a great tool. And something that we've done to help, even at my home, to get the kids on a schedule in the morning and really in charge of their own schedule. So once you get this document, you will be able to click on these lists. And one thing that we've done is say,
it's in alphabetical order. It is.
I'm getting some feedback, so just make sure it's muted on your end. You know what? I don't know if I'm muted or.
And finish.
So we, what I suggest doing is taking this list and really kind of saying, all right, this is the time you wake up. This is the time that you'll, have gotten dressed, and this is the time that you'll have brushed your teeth. And make sure that there's a clock in their room, whether it's a hand clock or a digital clock, so they can see that at 7:05 they need to have their teeth brushed. And by 7:10, all ready and to go down the stairs, in time for breakfast. And then by 7:20, breakfast needs to have been eaten, and they're getting their shoes on. So that they can kind of start being in charge of their own morning. And this will take a lot of pressure off you. I mean, yeah, you'll have to kind of be that drill sergeant saying, what time is it? Time check, okay, that means 5 more minutes until you have to be downstairs. What do you still need to do? But hopefully they're getting the swing of things and able to kind of manage their own time, and that's the point. And so these checklists might just help you, and we'll make sure that you get those printouts. Okay, so covered everything on this slide. Organization hacks. I think this is like the #1 thing because, I don't know about you. I have 3 kids in a small house, and I wish we had so many more rooms, but we just don't. So you just kind of have to make do with what you have. And I think some of the biggest takeaways and hacks that I've kind of had are, just three unique things, right? So we've done a homework station where you want to create a homework hub, whether this is where they use the computer or this is where they get their books out, but it's a quiet, well-lit area, kind of in earshot of where you are, but far enough away so that when people are talking and that they're not too distracted. And just getting like this 3-cabinet or 3-drawer filing cabinet was such a game changer for us, and it's super simple. But we store it either in a closet or right under that desk, and it has the compartments. We added compartments for all the kid things, right? Markers, glue sticks, scissors. As they get older, it'll be more folders and maybe their iPads or their books or their important things that they're working on, but sort of their space. And yeah, you can store this in their room, in their closet, near their bed. It sort of fits nice and compact. The other thing we had was we added a bin to our refrigerator that's all lunch stuff. My kids love buying lunch, but it's not an option. We're making lunches every day, but that's a lot of work. So it's these sandwiches and the sandwich meats and the cheeses and the snacks that are all in kind of one bin. So you pull out of the fridge and then just start your process. Another thing that I've also instilled is getting the kids to kind of take the sandwich that I've made for them because they're still pretty young, but then pack their own snacks. So they take something out of the fruit bin and they take something out of the snack bin, and they pack their water bottle and they're good to go. And it gives them some empowerment, and also takes a little bit off of my plate, their responsibilities. And the third thing is an over-the-door shoe holder. We use these all over the house. We use them in the bathroom, we use them in the closets, and we use them over another side of the closet for school supplies. So as you see in this picture, there's glue sticks and crayons in one. We also have one in our closet because we don't have a mudroom and we don't have those gorgeous cubbies. We have it just over our regular closet, and we stuff hats and scarves. In the winter, all that cold weather gear comes, right? So all the hats, the scarves for all 3 kids, for all of us, and then I put it in a bin at the end of the winter, and in the springtime we fill it with sunscreens and sunglasses and ball caps and things like that. So it's sort of interchangeable and makes things a lot easier for the kids to just grab their stuff and head out the door. And also when they take it off, to put it in those pieces, because usually they just want to throw it on the floor. So we also, at care.com, focus a lot on food, because it's just a fun thing to do, and people are always looking for easy lunches that they can pack, dinners that they can make, breakfasts on the go, snacks that kids will eat. So we've done a lot of fun things here, and I encourage you to go to YouTube/care.com, all one word, to see these videos. But here are some really creative ideas. We took a bento box, which a lot of people sell now. This is a bento box that we made a taco bar station in. So if you sort of had tacos the night before, you can create with the leftovers a new taco bar with some soft wraps. Then we've done banana sushi rolls, and this is really just like a whole wheat wrap with sun butter, which is a great alternative to peanut butter in a lot of these nut-free schools. And we rolled up the banana, cut it into slices, and you sort of have like banana sushis, or you can call them, banana sliders. Might be a fun thing too. Fresh fruit kebabs is a really great way to add a fun way to have them eat their fruit. Let's see, and then for the breakfast, sometimes it's really hard, especially if there's a walk to school or a long drive to school. You need them to eat on the run. Those last kind of 10 minutes are always a scramble in the house, no matter, even if they've followed the guideline, right, of their cheat sheet of getting out in the morning. So grab and go breakfasts are key. Bagels, cream cheese and strawberry on a cinnamon raisin bagel is delicious. We do waffle witches, so waffles with sun butter inside. And then these egg veggie muffins that we have recipes for also on YouTube and on our site are these things that you can make on, like, say, Sunday night. Refrigerate them and then just microwave them and have them go. But they're eggs and veggies in muffin tins, and they really just can, like, pop them out, eat on the go. Okay. So finding after-school care. So obviously care.com is the place that you'll want to utilize. And for working parents with school days and work days don't always align. Families with younger kids, that can mean finding childcare for after school, and some even ask if like a nanny or helper to come early in the morning to get your kids ready for the start of the day. So yeah, you can get someone like early to get your kids out, to be your helping hands, to take the kids to school, and then they might even come at the end of the day to pick the kids up, to help them with homework, help get dinner on the table. There's a lot of help that you might just need to rely on, and that's why we're here. So you'll want to use the service that you have at care.com to hire these helpers. And I think that it's especially if your employer offers care.com as the family care benefit, you can ask your HR manager how to access care through your company's custom URL. Definitely use that as a go-to resource and guidelines for getting the help that you need right now. And so you know that by using care.com, you have access to a network of local caregivers in your area. You can search by your zip code, post a job that fits your family's unique needs, and then in addition to child care, you can use care.com to hire whatever helps, like tutors, housekeepers, a dog walker, senior care. Really covers the gamut in all types of care that you might need on a regular basis, or even a one-time basis, like a date night. So I want to help you set up the best profile that really will attract the caregivers that you are looking for, to make it as easy as possible. And we have some video tutorials on how to hire an after-school sitter. But and please talk to your HR manager if you need any more help on kind of coming out with this and creating this, because we want to be the resource that you have. So let's see. So you'll want to kind of keep it short and sweet. You'll want to use some bold keywords. So for example, the headline, looking for a nanny in your area for 2 children. You might even want to say like 2 energetic children, or looking for a creative nanny, or looking for an energetic nanny. Some like fun keywords that pop out to a caregiver that they can say, oh, I'm close to Waltham. I want to work with 2 children. And I love actually suggesting to people that they use the word nanny. Call it what you will, and a lot of people talk to refer to this job as an after-school sitter. But I feel that the word nanny actually elevates the professionalism of this caregiver, so that you're really attracting someone who refers to herself as a nanny. So you'll want to make it a little unique, like describe not only what you're looking for in the hours, the flexibility that you might need, like maybe you have some work nights that run a little late. And if you want, if you're going to want some laundry done, if you're going to want some meal prep, if you're going to want the transportation to and from after-school activities, make that clear right here. Then it is all as straightforward as possible. And when the caregivers actually see these alerts and they're reading through the job description, only the ones who are interested in what you have to offer and what you're asking for are going to apply. So that's the whole setup of why creating a job post is the easiest way to use care.com service. I know a lot of people who just kind of type in their zip code and browse caregivers and look at their experiences and then reach out to individual caregivers, and then they find out that maybe that caregiver doesn't want to work Tuesdays or doesn't have availability on Fridays. Creating a job post is your way around that. It's like the express lane. So I strongly recommend that you do this. And then I love bulleted lists. I think it's easy for people to scan. You'll kind of say like, what we need, what we need. We need energy, we need compassion, we need someone who can negotiate between sibling disputes. We need someone who understands pre-algebra, and who will go with the kids to take the dog for a walk and run errands and take them to ballet and soccer throughout the week. And so kind of you put that in a bulleted list, and then you kind of say, what your schedule might be, and maybe tell a little bit about your family, what you're like, what your kids are like, summarize your family philosophy a little bit. Describe if you're super fun and love dance parties and playing pirate and love just like something fun that attracts the caregiver to want to be a part of this team. And I think that's so important, right? Because you actually want someone who's going to feel like she belongs with you, and that she wants to help you grow this family, and wants to be kind of like your right-hand girl. And that is what every family kind of wants, right? You want someone who's loving this job, loves to come to work every day, wants to help be a part of this team, and that you can have a great rapport with. So here are just a little summary of what I've just said. And you'll want to also leave your contact information. But they will get back in touch with you. You'll actually email back and forth through the care.com app and data and desktop platform to discuss having maybe a video phone screen, and then meeting in person, and then meeting eventually maybe meeting the kids. So kind of getting through the steps of the hiring process. And we have a ton of expertise on how to phone screen someone, which is now easily done with video FaceTime or the video app at care.com. And then meeting face to face, always recommended in a coffee shop, a library, somewhere where you're meeting one-on-one, but you haven't necessarily had this person come to your home just yet. Then you're going to want to run the references. You're going to want to run the background check. So all of these dots should be dotted. I should be dotted before you actually, make someone an offer. But and we can help you through all of that through a lot of tutorials that we have on the site. So, part of going back to school is not only just like this huge relief that school is, in session and, and a better schedule is on the way, but it's also a lot of stress for working parents. And, you fear child illnesses because not only does it take your kids out of school, but once one kid has a stomach bug, you know that it's about to run through the entire house. So you would not, you'd not only be out for that child to have it, but possibly, 2 more children to have it, and then you have it. So it could be like 8 days out of work. Plus, you never know when it's going to strike. And so, what we know here at CARE is that about 90% of employees have missed work to care for family members, and that's part of a recent care.com survey. So you can bet that a bunch of those absences are caring for the sick kids. Absenteeism, presenteeism, when you're physically at work, but your mind is elsewhere. You're kind of like, uh-oh, like where, the nurse might call at any minute, or you just, or our nanny didn't feel well this morning, and I don't know what tomorrow might bring, right? So we also know that, family care-related productivity costs American businesses hundreds of billions of dollars every year. So I could talk to you all about drinking plenty of water, washing your hands, getting plenty of sleep, all of those things that a health expert would advise, especially as cold and flu season starts. But basically, what I want to talk to you about is getting the help that you need to stay present, productive, and engaged at work. A huge help for parents, working parents, is backup care. Backup care means a lot of things for different people, but mostly it's a plan in place. You want to ensure that you have a backup when your regular plans, fall through. So it could be family, a system with your partner, like alternating. I stayed home last time, you stay home this time. Friends, the neighbors that you can lean on, a favorite sitter. I always recommend having a few local sitters who are available through the day. It's great if you live in a college town, that someone who, having someone in place that might have a school schedule that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then another one who's like Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. But for some working parents, backup care is actually available through your employer, and that's care.com's backup care, where you can actually call a phone number or through your app and schedule these last-minute care providers that have been vetted by care.com to arrive in your home, within a few hours. It's a fantastic resource. I actually used it for the first time this year because, to be honest, when I first heard about the service, it's like a little alarming to think about like calling a phone number and then getting a nanny at your door in like an hour. Like, who vetted them? Who is she? How professional is this experience? And so for example, I was like, well, I'm going to stay home and work this day. I want to see them. I want to meet them. And then if I'm comfortable with them, I will, maybe I'll run out and I'll drive the kid to my child to after school or the piano lesson or whatever, and then next time I'll request this person. And it was actually fantastic. I arranged it. I knew that my nanny was going to be away, and so I arranged it in advance, probably like 2 days. And we got this wonderful woman. She called ahead of time. We talked a little bit about the kids. She told me she worked in my neighborhood a number of times. And when she arrived, she was great. I warned my kids that this wasn't going to be our regular nanny. We sort of talked about this new person coming. They were really intrigued. They knew that I was going to be around. I would be picking up from school, and but the interactions were fantastic. And this woman, actually found flashcards and was doing them with my 4-year-old. When I was upstairs working and I come down to make lunch and they're doing flashcards in the back. I couldn't believe. I actually sent an email to the care team afterwards, because TV, I didn't even have to tell her that TV wasn't an option. She just knew. She was doing all these great fun things, and the kids were really engaged in having a great time with her. And they actually still talk about her. They're like, when is Shakira coming back? So I would definitely, the next time I would use the service, I would probably try to see if I could get her. But that's my own personal story with the service, and I really feel like I can vouch for the quality that Care.com makes sure that they're, that these are a professional nanny. That's an on-call service. So these are just some tips also for talking to your caregiver, and especially about inviting someone into your home to take care of your kids kind of at the last minute. So, discussing the house rules, maybe even printing out the schedule if it's confusing, if who gets home from what school at what time, and what they need to do. Kids are notorious for trying to pull a fast one on a newbie. So, making sure that they are doing their homework right when they get in, and then they get their snack, or vice versa, and then they can, have the 30 minutes of the screen time, and then they need to play outside, and whatever that schedule is, put it all out in paper. And prepping your children too. So, let's see, we want to kind of add a fun little way before we get to any questions that you might have, of what, getting kids to talk about their day. So, I think we kind of say, how was your day? And I have a boy and a girl, and I don't know, I hate to stereotype here, but my son is fine. And my daughter's like, well, so and so did this, and she's like the town crier. She will full on headlines, and then the detail by detail moment about who said what, and then what happened, and the cause effect of whatever happened to so and so's art project that day. And meanwhile, my son was able to just say nothing. So we have a great article here at Care.com about how to talk to your kids about their day, and you really want to be specific, right? So here's a good example. What did you and Emma build with blocks today? So that her friend is Emma, and that they like to build blocks together, and then you can sort of go from there of what city they built together, and kind of and then what did you and Emma do? So, and then there's what did you have for lunch, or are they still serving slop for lunch? Sometimes I even say well, what did David eat? What snacks did David bring? And because my kids love to talk about food and recess. What was your biggest challenge, and how did you resolve it? Is a fun one. How are you? Okay, so this project is due, in 2 weeks, and how are you going to set up your, schedule your time to prepare for it? If you were on vacation and could only bring one of your classmates, who would it be? What did you play at recess today? and ways to just kind of get them going on what makes them happy. Like even we realized that my son loves math. And he's learning about addition, but he's also starting to learn a little bit about multiplication. They love riddles, and so like Googling some riddles and talking about those. But they like to come home and say like who taught them a new riddle. We talk about the bad kids a lot. Like, so what did Noah do today? Did he end up in the Take 3 chair, which is the Take 3 to be a better me chair? And oh yeah, okay. So what? Why shouldn't he have done that? So it's also a great way to build from what they're learning about the bad behavior, but why is that bad behavior? What should he have done instead? How should he have handled that? There's a lot of like peacemaking skills too that especially the young children are learning. Did you have any? Were you upset with anyone today? Well, what could have happened? What would you suggest should happen? How can you talk to them about that? So I think it's so hard for us parents when we don't really get insight into what's going on during the day. But hopefully, with a few probing questions, making it fun, making it just so, like super excited about that you're just so interested. Maybe talk about your day too. When you sit down, you can kind of say like, oh, I had this presentation I had to give in front of everybody, and I was nervous, but I ended up, it was pretty good. And they might say like, well, what was it about? And you can kind of talk about a little bit about what it was about. And have you ever had to stand up in front of your class? And how does that make you feel? Are you excited? Do people clap for you? And just kind of having them relate to your job is a great way to kind of, instill those skills too. That these are lifetime skills that they are learning, and that they can be excited for you as well. I read an article recently about work like your kids are watching. And I think that's a really important kind of idea about, talking about the happiness that you have at work, or working through problems, and not shutting the doors to your work when you are coming home. So I want to make sure that we go through some questions that you guys have sent. And please feel free to send more through the chat feature. So here's one that came through that your child always throws a tantrum when I leave her with a sitter. Should I ignore it and leave quickly? I think that's a really good question, and I don't know how old your daughter is, but I think that, or your child is, but I think that a lot of kids go through this, and the separation anxiety is huge. My children love our nanny, but for a while my daughter would always cry when I left, and then she would cry when our nanny left every day. So at least I had some reassurance that she really did love the nanny, because she was just having a hard time letting go to everyone and with everyone. So hopefully you have some signs that this is really a great sitter for your family. Give it some time. Maybe even suggest something to the sitter of like, coming in with a mystery bag that they can do together, like a fun activity that they can do together, or a new book that you took out from the library that they can read together. But some excitement, or suggest, like my kids love hide and go seek, and it can be tedious to play for 2 hours at a time. So sometimes I'll say like, oh, come on in, we're just playing hide and seek. Like, why don't you be it this time? And so when the sitter kind of enters, and she can be like excited and jump right into the family fun. It's an easier transition, especially like make tag a part of it, and the kids are running and having a really good time. So hopefully, with a few more turns like that, everyone's sort of a little bit more at ease. But I think separation anxiety is very, very natural for children, especially from like 1 to I would say like 4, especially if this is your first time leaving. So there might not be anything to be alarmed about unless she's just with that sitter and not other sitters. So we talked a little bit, or we have a question here about teens and time management. Oh, great. Okay, so teens and time management. So so this is something, and I want to make sure that I'm not just talking about young kids here, and this is a great question, but I think that the time management is probably the key to helping kids with homework, right? A lot of parents don't know if they should be, looking over their kids' shoulders through homework, or if, or how much involvement they should be, or they should have. Time management is the key to teaching these skills for life skills. And so really kind of setting up with the teacher, if need be, like what the monthly calendar is, like what's due when tests are happening, and then working backwards. Like you also need to fill in what, like if they have an after-school job or weekend jobs, if they have after-school activities, and then possibly practicing for, like piano practice or some sort of instrument, filling in these schedules and having your teen actually work around what they have going on, whether it's by the month or then you're going to want to actually break it into the week by week and possibly, 2 days ahead of time each week. So what do you need to do then? When do you think you should study for these tests? When have you found that you're a good studier? Should you do this right when you come home, or do you really need to wait for after dinner? Like, my kind of saying, like, you have so much energy right when you come home. Why can you do this now? Wouldn't it make sense for you to do this now? So trying to help them make their own decisions, but guide them with the time management and help them create their calendars, keep on their calendars rather than keeping on their homework. And that hopefully will teach them some life skills to get through, this year and through life. So hopefully we talked a little bit about making mornings more efficient and peaceful, really trying to prep with the clocks, talk about this ahead of time. How much time do you need to get dressed? How much time do you need for, eating breakfast? Do a dry run. This is sort of even crazy, but last year was our first year with the new baby and getting out of the house in time for a bus. And the day before school started, we acted as if it was the first day of school. And we were like that crazy family who ran down at the bus stop with every other family is getting ready for work. And we've got backpacks and we're running down the hill and, just timing ourselves and making sure that that we were going to be there. We did our whole morning routine the day before school started. And then we went out to breakfast and sort of celebrated that, this is the start of school. And I think that was great in sort of making, the first day of school a total scream fest. It sort of set everybody in motion. And so I think that, doing dry runs and making sure that you're kind of being that drill sergeant, being 5 minutes to go, can really help the kids kind of get in motion. And so here's a good question actually about having an after-school sitter for a 5-year-old but not living in a college town. We know here at CARE that a lot of our after-school sitters are college kids because they work from 3 to 6 or 3 to 7 and really help families, but they don't need that full-time job. that just because you don't live in a college town doesn't mean that you can't find an after-school sitter. There's actually preschool teachers are great and often looking for some extra money and are fantastic with children, obviously. There's often a lot of stay-at-home moms that have sent their kids off to school, or their kids have longer days or are more self-sufficient, and so they're looking for a way to help another family out. Put up the post and see what you get. Obviously you wouldn't say that you're looking for a college kid, but you might even have a really mature high school kid that is looking to make some extra money as well, and that can be a really good role model for your family. So I think that that's great. We also should touch base on tutoring. As we actually see here in CARE that October is a huge month when people post the need for tutors. And because care.com is a benefit for you at work, feel free to use the service like that too. If you, are at all concerned that your child might have, just need some extra help with whatever it might be, the reading, the math, the writing, anything. And even if it's SAT prep, use our service. You can scan via zip code to see what's available, and you can see what kind of in-home tutors as well as centers are available for these needs, and kind of nip this in the bud before the first report card comes out. So here, does care.com have programs for employers? Yes. So care.com have programs for employers. What does that mean? Oh yeah. So that's exactly what we're trying to express is the Workplace Solutions at care.com is our employer program. And this is fantastic because you can offer not only the DIY care.com service that can help people find their own tutors and after-school caregivers and senior care helpers, pet care, housekeepers, all of these things that really keep a busy house running smoothly. I have a two working household family, 3 kids, and we need all the help we can get, and we can admit that. But also backup care. Backup care is huge, and really just such a lifesaver. Like I saw a note that my nanny had written the other day on a piece of paper that said, "Ask about October vacation," and I'm thinking, I'm not taking an October vacation. She's about to ask me for her October vacation. And before having a care.com backup care as like a safety net, this would have made me like have a sweat, a panic attack. But now I'm like, oh, I'll just use backup care. And I know that care.com actually subsidizes it, so it's less expensive than what a typical nanny would cost in my neighborhood, and I can get someone and feel comfortable with them all week for however long she needs to take. So it's just a huge relief for your employees to know that you are thinking about their family needs. So I strongly, obviously, recommend it, just even personally. And the other thing to also mention is the senior care planning that care.com offers as an employee benefit for employers. And this is fantastic. My family has used it ourselves on both sides, my husband's and mine, when we've had grandparents that needed help. And we, suddenly, my mom was taking care of my grandfather, and she was working, and he needed to go from a hospital to a rehab, and then rehab back to his home, and we needed someone to care for him, and he was in Maryland, and she was in New York. And my mom and her brother got on the phone with someone at care.com and went through all the stress and logistics of where he could go for rehab and then what could happen after he had to leave rehab. And what a stress reliever that was for my mom. And I know that so many working parents are trapped in this sandwich generation, and they're having their family, their parents are possibly heading towards needing more help, and so it's weighing on your employees' minds. And having something in place where our social worker team can help guide you through, and even have a backup care in place where, you know, mom can be driven to her doctor's appointments, or, you know, have needs met and meals made for her when they can't be there, is huge. It's really huge. So hopefully that has answered some of those questions of what Care.com can offer to employers. So hopefully we've also talked about staying organized with children's activities. So I want to, I know that a lot of people actually use a Google Calendar, and we have at our house like these 4 chalkboards. We've made 4 chalkboards on kind of like a family hub, where we kind of go week by week, and we outline each child and what activities they have, what play dates they have, if they have soccer, what time, who needs to go, just so like everyone can see it well in advance of what's going on. But also people use the Google Calendar, and invite their nannies and their, you know, partners or anyone else who is working with to help your family run, parents, in-laws, and inviting them to, you know, doctor's appointments. Like, I'm going to take the child to the doctor's appointment, but I need you to be at the doctor's to pick them up so that I can go straight to work. I do that all the time. And so that's helpful. So I invite my nanny to all of the doctor's appointments, and she kind of knows what's going on. The activities, it's like, you know, you also might need to plan carpools. So, you know, soccer starts at 5, and, you know, our nanny is going to do the drop-off, but so-and-so's mom is going to do the pickup and take the kids back, and so you're kind of coordinating all of that. So that's easily done with that family hub, and we can send a link to how to create that, as well as, you know, people love Cozy, and people love Google Calendar, iCal, I think it is. In terms of talking to, and more on like the tutoring, because I know that that is something that we also offer that really could help for back to school. Make sure that this isn't just you feeling like your child must need a tutor. You know, talk to your child's teacher and see if that's if they would recommend it. One thing that they also just could use is a homework helper type babysitter. And I know that tutors can cost like $50+ an hour. So it could be just someone that your family needs who's really good at school. And it's like a babysitter who, you know, maybe she is getting her master's or she's in college, and she can help with specific, especially like specific subjects, you know, and be that kind of like great role model, obviously, but, you know, be that babysitter, the after-school sitter, who is dedicated to also helping with certain subjects. I also love that idea too, and to put this in your job post. So, you know, saying those interests that your kids have, like, you know, must be really skilled at like pre-algebra, and, you know, street hockey. You know, it's kind of like we want to do both. My kid loves both, and, you know, you please, if you're applying, please be up for both and have that as experience. So I think that's it for questions, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please feel free. We're going to send this webinar out, but please feel free to contact us, contact your HR manager with any more questions that you have, especially about using the service. We don't want you to have this as an employee benefit and it go to waste. So, you know, anything that we can do to help you use this and use it effectively, we're here. So, the links that I've mentioned today will also be sent in this webinar. Thanks so much.